Okay, so today I'm going to talk about this guy, the Golden Pearl by Friedman Amplification. Let's go. Stay tuned to the end of this video because I'm going to do a quick shootout between the Golden Pearl by Friedman Amplification and the Precision Drive by Horizon Devices. Let's see how they compare to each other and see which one's more transparent or more to your liking and my liking as well. Now, I'm sure you've seen several reviews about this pedal out there already, as have I. Most of the guys that are doing the reviews, though, are basically playing rock or classic rock, which is fine, but I want to see how this pedal does with metal. Because in my opinion, metal is the most demanding genre out there regarding gear. So if it can pass that test, it's definitely going to be a permanent fixture on my pedal board because that's the kind of music that I play. I play metal and prog. So I'm really hoping that this will work out for me. Okay, you're probably wondering what exactly is the Golden Pearl by Friedman. What it is a very transparent, clean-ish boost to push amps with or tighten up amps with. And it does it very well without scooping the mids or cutting out too much low end. So if you love your tone of your amp, but you just don't like how unresponsive it is, but you don't want to sacrifice any of that tone when you push it with an overdrive pedal, well then this is the perfect pedal for you. Because once again, it will not suck any of the tone out of your amp at all. It just enhances the way it performs and gives it more sustain, more punch, and it tightens it up very well, once again, without cutting out a lot of low end and sculpting all of the mids out. And the reason why I say clean-ish is because it does add a little bit of dirt if you want it to your tone, but it doesn't add a ton of it. It's not going to take a clean amp and make it scream, but it will take a high gain or even a low gain amp and tighten it up and enhance the performance of it very well without changing any of the tone. One of the biggest problems that people have with a lot of overdrive pedals is that they either scoop out too much of the mids to give you that half-cocked wah kind of sound, which some people like. I particularly don't like that sound very much. I'd rather have my tone be the way it is. That's why I bought the amplifier in the first place, because I liked the way it sounded, and I didn't want to put a pedal in front of it that's going to take some of that tone away from me that I paid for and love so much. The other problem with some of the overdrive pedals out there is the fact that they take too much of the low end out and they make the amp a little too thin for their taste. And you don't feel like you have that low end punch or the balls that your amp used to have, even though it performs very well and it's a lot tighter. And that's very easy to fall into that trap of, oh my God, my amp sounds so much tighter and it performs so much better, but they forget what it costs them. And it costs them the low end punch and some of their mids to get that performance out of it. And once again, what I really like about this pedal is it doesn't cost you anything regarding your tone. You plug it in, you dial it in the way that you want, and your amp sounds exactly the same, except now it's angrier, tighter, and punchier, and has more sustain and performs a lot better just the way you want it. And you can still feel your speakers moving, and you still got that nice low-end thump, and you don't have to boost your mids to make up for what the pedal took away from you. Okay, so a quick overview of the pedal is you have your typical knobs. You have your drive, your volume, and your tone knobs. But you're also going to get a voice switch and a high cut switch on it as well. And I'll explain those to you right now. So basically with the voice switch is you have three different positions. If you want LED clipping, you'll go to the top position. If you want no clipping, you'll go to the middle position. And if you want the traditional diode clipping, then you'd go to the bottom position. So I'll put it to you this way. If you're going to put a little dirt into a clean channel of an amp, then you probably want to use the LED clipping. Or if you're going to go the traditional route and boost the front of an amp that maybe has a little bit of gain or all the way up to a lot of gain, you're going to use the diode clipping, which is the bottom position. Or if you prefer no clipping at all, just leave it in the middle. Okay, so on the high cut switch, basically we're going to get is three different positions on there. You're going to get all the way up, we'll cut the most highs, middle will cut no highs, and all the way down we'll cut just a little bit of the highs for you. Alright, so let's see how it sounds. I have it hooked directly into my Synergy rig, and the amp module that I chose is the Diesel VH4. for a couple of reasons. Number one, the VH4 sounds amazing. But the other thing is, it is a very loose amp, and I want to see if this pedal can tighten that amp up, because in my opinion, if it can tighten up the VH4, it could pretty much tighten up any amp out there. So here we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is just play just a basic riff with some chugging, and I'm going to engage the pedal in the middle of it without stopping so that you can hear before and after. So right now the pedal is not engaged. Wow, that made a huge freaking difference. It tightened it up very well. Now, if you noticed, it didn't really change the tone of the amp that much at all. In fact, it was very transparent, just like Friedman says. Well, it didn't scoop out any of the mids at all, and it definitely helped keep a lot of the low end while still tightening up the amp. Well, I'm going to play a few more riffs here to see what it sounds like. All right, so now I'm going to test it out on the Soldano SLO module in my Synergy rig. That's a much tighter amp to begin with, and I want to see how aggressive I can make that amp sound. So here's the amp without the pedal in front of it, and then while I'm playing, I'll turn it on again, just like I did with the VH4. Wow, freaking huge difference. That's super aggressive and tight. I really like that a lot. And as you noticed, once again, just like with the VH4, no tonal change really. And you didn't get that half-cocked wah kind of scooped tone. It maintained all of the character of the amplifier while pushing it and making it very aggressive and responsive and tight. So I'm going to play a couple more riffs for you, and let's see how this sounds. Wow, check out how responsive this pedal makes the Soldano SLO. That's without the pedal. Now this is with it. That was fantastic. Did you hear how the notes just jumped off the fretboard and there was so much articulation there? and it didn't change the tone of the amp. It just made it more responsive and tighter so that all the articulation was there in my playing, and all those notes were just jumping off the fretboard, and they were much easier to hear. I really love all of the character in these amp modules that I'm using right now. I love how fat and how big and how full the diesel is, and I love how tight and aggressive the Soldano is. And this pedal really brings out the best of both of those amplifiers, and I'm sure it'll do it for your amplifier too. Once again, if you really like the tone that you get out of your amplifier and the response and the performance of it isn't really up to snuff, and you're looking for a pedal that'll boost it without taking all of the favorite things away from that amplifier, I really have to tell you to try this pedal out. It is absolutely amazing. It's definitely going to be a permanent fixture on my pedal board for sure. One of the biggest differences that I'm noticing between the Golden Pearl and other overdrive or boost pedals out there is that it just adds like this really rich, thick, full tone to your amplifier, while accentuating everything that you're doing and not taking anything away from the tone or the quality or the character of the amp at all. A lot of those pedals, what they do is they thin out the amplifier and they give you that really nice response, which is great. And sometimes we fall in love with the performance end of the amp so much that we ignore the things that the pedal is taking away from us. And I've done it. I think everybody's done it, because all of a sudden the amp wakes up and we start playing better and noticing all these notes jumping off the fretboard, which is great. But once again, we're not realizing that the amp's taking some of the things away that we might not want it to. And with this pedal, it's not going to happen. You get the best of both worlds. You get the performance, the tightness, and the response, while not having to give up any of your low end that you love so much. I don't really know how this thing's doing this while maintaining all the low end of the amp, but it's definitely doing that. The other thing I notice is when I'm playing it with my speaker cabs upstairs, I use the Friedman ASC-12s, I'm getting tons of bounce from the speakers and fullness and punchiness and thump still when I'm playing this, and it's not thinning out my tone at all. It makes it fat but aggressive with tons of attack all at the same time. I'm very impressed with this pedal. I don't recommend pedals unless I buy them. And by the way, I did buy this. This wasn't sent to me for a review. I own it, and I'm glad I own it. This thing's freaking killer. All right, so now for an added bonus, I'm going to give you a really quick comparison between the Horizon Devices Precision Drive, which I've owned for 2 years now and love very much, and the Friedman Golden Pearl. And you're going to hear what I'm talking about. You're going to hear the Precision Drive cut a lot of the low end and scoop out some of the mids of my tone, where the Friedman, all of that is retained, and it still makes the amp very tight and aggressive. So here we go. All right, so I'm going to start with the Friedman Golden Pearl, and then I'm going to switch directly into the Precision Drive with the same riff. Here we go. Well, I have to admit, the Golden Pearl is definitely a little fatter and fuller than the Precision Drive, and it's not scooping out any of the mids or too much of the low end. I'm telling you, you should definitely get one of these and compare it to your current overdrive or boost pedal. You're going to be really surprised at the difference. Well, there you have it. I hope you really liked what you heard, and I hope that you learned something from this today. And I will say that the Golden Pearl is going to be a permanent fixture on my pedal board, because what I really enjoyed about the pedal was it didn't take anything away from all of the tone that I love so much out of all of my amp modules. There was no scooping of the mids, and it didn't cut all the low end out and make my amp sound too thin. And it didn't have too much searing top end to make it hurt my ears either. It was very balanced, very transparent, as Dave Friedman promised. And it basically tightened everything up the way I wanted it to and needed it to. I'll be honest with you, it does metal very well. It's very supportive, as you heard, of all of the riffs that I played. So that said, it's not just for rock or classic rock. It'll actually do metal very well. Well, the main differences I found between the Precision Drive and the Golden Pearl are these. The Precision Drive does have a noise gate on it, which does come in handy, and the Golden Pearl does not. But you can always get a noise gate for your pedal board and solve that problem anyways. The other difference is, as good as the Precision Drive is, and is still one of my favorite overdrive pedals out there, is it does actually scoop out some of the mids, and it does cut out some of the bottom end of my tone, where the Friedman doesn't cut out any of the mids or low end at all. It just somehow magically tightens up the amp without having to sacrifice any of that stuff. So depending on your taste and your needs, either pedal would work out really well for you. And depending on my taste and my needs and whatever amp module that I utilize at the time, I will be incorporating one of these pedals with that amp depending on what that amp needs. So it's nice to have something out there that will suit your taste or your needs depending on what you're doing at the time and what amplifier or amp module that you're using at the time. Well, to all my subscribers, thank you very much. And to all the people that haven't subscribed yet, please do. I would appreciate that very much, and give me a thumbs up and ring that bell so that you can be notified when I come out with new videos. And I have a lot of great stuff coming up very soon, and I'll see you on the next one.